So joining us from the East Coast, so we know it's late and we apologize, is Judd Larkins, and Judd is running for Congress. Judd, welcome to Dig on America. Thank you for coming on the show, man.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. And yes, it's on the East Coast. My team's probably laughing because normally I'm in bed by like 8 or 8:30. Everybody calls me the old man, even though I'm the youngest one on the team. So we're just prepping for when I win, and we work through the night passing a bunch of stuff you don't want to know about. So there's practice tonight.
Hopefully they're passing stuff we don't want to know about now. But
no, they can pass whatever they want, but 8:30? I won't even be able to finish watching the game.
Yeah, the Boondocks doesn't even start until 9.
I was
I was getting ready to say it's giving granddad.
So Judd, we'll spend the first hour of the show, first 45 minutes or hour in the show on talking about your campaign. Look, guys, there's some other shit going on. We had another fucking shooting. We're going to talk about it in a minute, but again, we need to get our normal business out of the way first. So we're very happy to have Judd with us today. Judd, why don't you tell us a little bit about, we'll play a game with you in 1 second, but just real quick, who are you? Why are you running for Congress?
Can't do nothing in this house.
Oh, you want to start with it? Okay. All right, Judd.
Yes.
All right. Judd,
All right.
I am being usurped. All right. Put him back in. All right. We will start with, and you're right, Mikey, this is probably the better way to do it.
Let's liven it up.
Judd,
yeah?
All right.
we're going to start out by asking you 4 questions. You're going to give us 4 answers. I'm going to call an audible here, even though I can't call an audible because the show hasn't technically started with something that I have to call an audible from.
Oh my
God. That's what Mikey does. He does it that way because he hates the audible. 4 down territory. Judd, I will ask you the first question. Voltron or Power Rangers? Who wins?
Ooh.
I'll have to go back in the Mind Palace here to my days growing up. I was a big Power Rangers fan, so Power Rangers. I got to ride or die with them.
I think it is Power Rangers because they had T-Rexes and shit, and they had cats. Like, fuck off, cat. You're not beating a T-Rex.
All right. So first one, Anna, Mikey, who would like to go next?
Anna.
Okay, so yes, let me think. If you were stuck on an island and you could bring only 2 things, neither one of which could be electronic, what would you bring?
Ooh,
my Bible and my gun.
Stop it. You know his gun's got bad. For later in the show. Dutch, his gun has batteries.
That's right.
The sights have lights.
It's a Nerf gun, so it's battery operated.
Right.
I would say one thing is a board game because you need something to
That's
kind of pass the time with a little bit while you're waiting.
That's
With
actually
your
really
conversation
good.
there.
Which board game?
Have you ever played a Spirit Island?
No.
Don't. It takes like 2 hours and it takes like 3 weeks to figure out what you're doing. But it's really
perfect.
Is it a one person? Is it a game you can play by yourself?
Yes, you can. It's one of those a collaborative game, so like everybody works together, but you can play by yourself.
It says here,
Spirit
Island is a Euro-style cooperative strategy board game designed by R. Eric Roos and published by Greater Than Games in 2017. Oh, it's digital too.
Yeah.
Yes.
I might have to try that.
Give us our money, Spirit Island.
Oh Lord,
we just promoted you.
$72.
It's $72 for a game.
He must have a
I might be taking Scrabble.
He must have
Uno. You like how stuff about a deck of cards?
He must have Judd must have a yard.
Judd's definitely got a yard.
Okay, what's the other item?
Yeah, the other thing.
I was about to go utilitarian and go an umbrella, but if you're on an island, you got trees, so that's stupid. You can just use that.
Yeah, palm fronds.
I was about to say, yeah.
Tree or umbrella was good. Good.
I was about to say some music, but that wouldn't work either because I need batteries, and y'all said no electronics.
Right.
Dang, he can't even bring.
I'm gonna go that. I'm from South Carolina. Give me a fishing pole. and then we eat.
A
We're good.
fishing pole is good. You need to eat.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually
That's
a
fair.
wise. I would have probably gone knife and fishing pole, but there you go. But at least you won't die of boredom, but I won't die when the wild boar attack. But I won't die when the wild boar attacks me. So we'll both be dead, but of different reasons.
He'll just play the game with the boar, thus calming it down.
Exactly. A cooperative, so we're making friends.
He like tries to charge him, like, oh no, it's your turn. He goes, oh, no one's ever asked me to play with them.
He's a true bridge builder.
He'd soften the heart of the boar.
All right, Mikey, we'll let Haas finish lighting his cancer stick there.
If do you like Star Wars?
To me?
Do you yeah. No.
No, not really.
All right. I was gonna say, what color lightsaber would you have? But if you you could still, even if you've seen some ancillary,
you don't have to like Star Wars to want a lightsaber.
Yeah, that's a little bit.
They're not exclusive.
I'm gonna go with either purple or orange because I did go to Clemson for undergrad, so we're gonna keep it.
Everybody write that down on your boards. Clemson.
I smell a Deshaun Watson question.
Oh no.
Yeah. All right, Big Haas, your question, sir.
And hello.
Hello, first of all, greetings and salutations to all of you fine individuals.
Hello.
My question would be, if you were forced, what color would you paint your toenails and why?
What?
I'm gonna take the two colors I just mentioned off the board because we got to keep this interesting here.
Okay.
We'll go with Alabama colors.
Yeah,
Never. He would never do it.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I mean,
Definitely not Bama.
If we got to do it, we might as well have a little bit of fun, right? Let's go like a bright yellow or something that's like everybody will notice. You got to do it.
That's a good color.
You're gonna do it big. I understand.
Yeah,
go hard
into it.
Go hard or go home. All right, so you have yellow toes and an orange lightsaber. You will definitely be found on that island in the middle of your game with the board.
Planning ahead, it's all like part of the thing that it works. We'll get rescued.
You'll be found by the Power Rangers as they fly overhead. So, all right, Judd, why are you running for Congress? And tell us about your district, if you would. Those two things.
Yeah, absolutely. I am running for the 2nd district in South Carolina, which is right in the middle, actually. It's part of the capital, Columbia, and then goes westward towards Augusta, but obviously ends at the river because that's a different state. So it's a little bit of urban area, a lot of farms, a lot of rich horse people, which I hope are not listening because I just called them rich horse people. But they're probably not listening. So
is that what would be like the biggest city there? Would that be like
biggest city
Lexington or something?
Columbia. Lexington's pretty big, yeah, because Columbia is kind of split. It's gerrymandered, so I have like portions of it.
You don't say
gerrymandering in the American South?
No,
and just guess the portion that is gerrymandered would have voted my way. They give. But no, Richland County is pretty blue anyway. But yeah, Lexington and Richland counties are both over 200,000 for what's in the district. So that'll be the definite most. But, run because I'm young. We need some young people up there, because we're talking about these young people issues, student loans, housing, trying to find a job to where you're 25 and they want 15 years of experience to pay you $12 somehow, but yet it's entry level.
You want a master's degree too. That's funny.
Exactly. Yeah, their master's degree, and also wants to know how you survived the pandemic of 1918 or whatever it was, the Spanish flu, while you're there. But we need folks there.
I took ivermectin, by the way, in 1918.
The injection or the pills?
I took it. Actually, what I did is I siphoned the horse blood into my own blood.
Oh, that's even better, probably.
Blood transfusion.
I now have horse powers.
He has been eating carrots nonstop. It is annoying as hell. It's like the worst nightmare ASMR video you ever heard of.
Is he's turning a little orange there? So the carrots.
I am. I'm Trump. I'm Trump's son. I'm Eric Trump.
Gross.
Jason.
And Daddy doesn't love me. All right, so
You're
you
the
strike
other
me.
guy.
I just got to ask you. I know we already did
Yeah.
4 on territory, but I got to ask you. You strike me as, just based on your accent and the way you look, as like a at least high school, maybe even college basketball player. Am I right or wrong?
I was a track and cross country.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not
All
that tall. I'm only like 6 foot.
You look
maybe
tall on
6'1".
camera.
So yeah, so no, like I would have to be a point guard, and I'm not quick enough.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so Judd, we're gonna ask you a couple of questions about. Refresh. Who is the incumbent in your district?
Joe Wilson.
Oh,
He's the one who yelled at Obama back in 2009. The "you lie" guy. Yeah.
Oh, the you
Joe-
lie guy.
Yeah.
Joe.
him.
Yeah, I know precisely who Joe. I know precisely who he is. He's been in
That
the
is
house
what
for
he's
a
known
long.
for.
He's been in the house for a long time. Like
20 years now. Yeah.
He probably puts
Yeah.
that in every commercial too.
Hell yeah.
But
He's had a
that's
gun with it branded.
I'm the one who
up.
told Obama he lied.
yep.
Yeah.
You
He
said
what?
he has a gun with it branded.
He has a gun branded because his son owns this great big old like armory franchise, and they do custom guns. So they'll have like "Let's Go Brandon" on the barrel, or like "You Lie" on the barrel. They're like stuff like that.
Wow.
That's
I
crazy.
can't remember what
Little fetishism going on there with the guns.
Yeah, it's a
Was
little
he-
weird. Some of them you're like,
was he the guy who was it him? Was he the guy who shut down Poker Stars?
I can look.
So
I'm on
that's
it.
why they invented Google.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't him.
him.
Maybe it wasn't him, but somebody was. He was one of those guys from one of the congressmen from South Carolina. I think was big on getting Poker Stars shut down, and Poker Stars still owes me $350. So, Joe Wilson
Kind of sounds like he's kind
can
of
cough up that money. So, what would you bring to the district that Joe does not?
attention to it. Is if you follow his Twitter, Facebook, and anything that he introduces, it's all like foreign affairs, which is great. It's important, but not at the expense of your next door neighbors' issues or things down the road. We got the worst road conditions in the Southeast. Folks know South Carolina roads suck. Our rural areas. I grew up on a dirt road. It's where the accent comes from. It's like the rural areas are just losing people left and right. One county lost its only hospital. So now if you have a heart attack, you got to wait about 45 minutes for them to come get you. And that's if you got a cell phone signal to call. So go figure that. But there's just there's no focus there. There's no attention. So any of the issues locally are just getting ignored for him to try to do something else or write another letter about Putin, even though he's kind of buddy with him prior to this, but yeah, that all.
All right. Well, there are a few issues out there right now, and we'll let my esteemed co-hosts ask you any questions that they may have about your campaign. So I'll toss it to the group. Whoever wants to go
Fire
first.
away.
I'll go. So what do you think is the most important issue that your district is facing right now, and what do you plan to do to fix it, or I guess make it better?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm gonna give you two because the district's a little different depending on where you're at. In the big cities like Columbia, Lexington, it's definitely becoming very quickly women's rights in those. Those are kind of your core dim bases. So with the impending, SCOTUS thing probably coming out later this month, that's going to get everybody riled up pretty good again back in Columbia. But we've already said that whenever we get there, we're going to make sure to be one of those that, sticks another bill down on the table, making sure women have the right to bodily autonomy, and that we're going to work alongside the other Democrat in the state, which is Clyburn. Hopefully several others will join me, but that's becoming the main issue in the larger cities. The rural areas is kind of what I've already alluded to. They just don't, they've been forgotten. So I'm going to introduce a package, which I think will actually carry some pretty good bipartisan appeal because rural areas impact, every state in the country and a lot of districts. But these areas need more than just broadband. They got to have proper cell towers. They got to be able to have the roads to accommodate, trying to attract plants. They got to have education to be able to train their workers. We got a lot of instances where the rural high schools just don't have a career center. So their students, they come out behind compared to students in larger cities. And that's just not fair. That's not equal to them. And they're moving away. And they're not moving down the road. They're moving out of state and they don't come back. So we're going to try to offer them up something to keep them here and to try to bring the rural areas back up. Because, South Carolina's got a lot of population outside of the cities, but the opportunities dissipate pretty quickly.
So what is the breakdown like? Like what percentage of your district would you say is rural, and then what would you say is a little bit more urban?
Yeah, definitely. There's around 720,000 people in the district. I would say that probably in actuality, probably about 600,000 of them would probably be more like urban or suburbia. But culturally, probably about half of them think they're rural. Even if they live in the Columbia metro area, they all, are the big trucks. They wearing their camo. They feel like they live out on farms, but
they got their real tree on. They got their real tree on.
It's kind of more like culturally, they feel like they're kind of isolated, but they'll live right down the road from a Dunkin' Donuts.
This is America's Dunkin' Donuts.
I love that Dunkin' Donuts is the standard.
That's your qualifier for.
If you live near a Dunkin' Donuts, you may live in a city.
Dunkin' Donuts don't go out there for nothing.
That's right. There got to be somebody to buy those donuts.
Somebody's got to buy these donuts.
Gas station Dunkin' Donuts, like an actual Dunkin' Donuts, not the gas station.
Standalone.
Yeah, standalone. That's when you know you've made it around here.
Big House, what do you got for us, brother?
Now,
Uh-oh.
having been forced to watch the reality show that's based in South Carolina, Southern Charm, I believe. Got to notice that there's a little bit of tension as far as race relations down there sometimes.
What?
What are your
in the American
thoughts
South?
and plans on building bridges and improving racial relations in South Carolina in your district?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Luckily, I'm in a part of the state where it's probably not as much of a problem as up in the upstate like Greenville, where it's a little more majority white. My area is a little more. My district's 75% white, though, but that's mainly due to gerrymandering, or it'd probably be a little closer to 50-50. One thing that we're doing with a lot of things is you just got to go and sit down with them. Like, let's not overcomplicate this. Is if a town is, 2,500 people and it's, a majority African-American, go down for a couple hours, sit down, go have lunch with them, ask them where to go eat at, just sit on the front porch and talk with them. Visit the churches is still a popular stopping point for most of the Democratic candidates to go and on a Sunday and worship with them.
What Democrats in a church? No.
I know it's a shocker, right? But
no, not in America. No, can't be.
Yeah.
Socialists don't believe that.
Not us. But yeah, that's what we've been doing, and it seems to be working great. It's not an issue we've had in our campaign. Other ones across the state and prior congressional ones have had an issue with that. But my approach of, hey, when in doubt, just go talk with them and just go chat with them and listen seems to work pretty well.
Follow-up question.
Yeah, go ahead.
When we talk about talking and chatting and trying to learn things and things like that, how does that parlay into action plans to improve overall things that might go on in your district and things like that? What do you glean from what the conversations you have that you can put into action plans?
That's a great question. Great follow-up. Some of these towns we're talking about where it is a little bit more minority heavy, is those are the towns which are lacking grocery stores, lacking cell towers. So what I've done is when I sit down with them before I leave, I start kind of telling what I'm thinking about, ways that we could attack it. And then we normally try to release something official closely after, like a policy point, something where they know we heard them. But yet I've also told a few towns, like, I'm going to start making calls for you now, because you can't wait on me to win this race now or in 2 years to get a grocery store. You need it now. So we've been trying to work through my connections, work through channels to try. We've had a lot of these folks that, just, trying to show attention, try to show we're trying, even if we can't make it happen. Because a lot of times you just can't make stuff happen. You can't make a public show up in a small one-horse town. But if you can work on trying to find them, like a small mom and pop grocery store or things like that, you can go a long ways with showing that, like, you will be resilient and stay through with it. You can't just, is if they say this is an issue in the community, you can't just say, okay, cool, and then you never follow back up with them. Or whenever you go back there in a few weeks, ask, is it any different? Like, what are you saying? What about this idea? This is what I saw in this town, 20 minutes away. Well, why can't it work here? What are the issues with that? So just trying to walk through stuff, because, most of these communities want, a functional grocery store. They want a better high school. They want better parks, but they just need a little bit of help, because they're, tax revenue is down because people are leaving, or the well-paying jobs are an hour and a half away with gas at $4.30 a gallon. You can imagine that's not going to happen.
I think you touched on something very interesting that happens, because especially in Illinois, where I live, Haas lives, and Dutch used to live, everyone is fleeing the state because our taxes are out of control and nothing gets fixed. So people go for greener pastures. Right. So then what ends up happening is the people that are left behind, well, now there's even less people to carry the tax debt for the state. So it kind of becomes this endless negative regression into just, this really sucks to live here. This is getting a little out of hand. We got to restructure some things, because us running with the same formula ain't really working. I don't, like, there's a high school not too far away from me. I'm renting right now. The property tax around here, though, I was like, woo, buddy. So even when I'm done paying this whole ass house off, I got to deal.
Hey, you got to,
I don't know, baby.
Crest Hill, brother. Come on over to Crest Hill. I was like, hey, let me hit you with the Dave Chappelle as Rick James.
Over here, like, damn.
Come on.
I'll tell you this: like,
every year
in my district, Lexington County is like the second fastest growing county in the state. It's well over 200,000 people now. They're adding people left and right. But then I have a Barnwell County that is like 16,000 people, and they lost like 2,000 people. And that's that downhill spiral. Like, they had 3 grocery stores. Now they got 2. They'll probably lose 1. But yet they have a Savannah River site 15 minutes up the road, and the average salary there is like $100,000.
Nice.
But yet the people in Barnwell County just don't have a career center like that path for these engineering jobs or these really technical jobs. But Aiken County, which is at the other entrance, does. So everybody that has a well-paying job at Savannah Riverside lives in Aiken County, but yet the other entrance in Barnwell County, it's like the polar opposite. It's like everybody's leaving because there's no opportunity. It's like you have a gate 10 miles away to the same well-paying job. Why aren't people going in this gate? Why is everybody coming in the other gate?
Right.
So that's
what do you think? Tell me about your stance, if you would, and I appreciate your answers to those questions. Tell me about your stance, if you would, on the healthcare situation. So I know that, like, we get a lot of conversation about universal healthcare, single payer. There's a lot of different narratives there's a lot of different ideas as to what those things could be. Is that something that you support? And if so, like, kind of what version would be the Judd Larkin healthcare plan for the United States, or one that you would at least advocate for?
Yeah, definitely. It's a good question. Thing is, I've spent a lot of time in Europe, so I've had to see their system pretty pretty upfront, and it is enjoyable to go get care and not have to worry about paying a dime.
You don't say.
I know. I'm gonna shoot y'all the article later, but my district is known as like the diabetic capital of the world for amputations. Like it's like so bad, like it's just like limbs getting chopped off left and right because they can't afford the insulin. At $800 or $900 a month for one person, you got 4 people in the house that needs it. You do the math, you can't afford it.
Right.
Oh, but wait a minute. I thought Trump fixed that problem. I keep hearing that Trump fixed that
problem. Just not there. It didn't get to that zip code. It didn't hit those communities very well. But going back kind of more bigger picture, one concern that I've heard from a lot of people that actually like the idea of a single payer system, they're scared of the transition because they're like, this is so big and massive. There's no way that it's done cleanly. And a lot of people's like, I'm currently on medication. I'm currently on treatments. Is this whole transition going to be just a cluster and I'm going to lose out? I'm not going to be doing this. Like it's this massive confusion. So they're like, make small changes now. Like, work on that longer term one. But if we can make small adjustments now, like the insulin price, capping it at 35, which is still high for a rich world, find a permanent loophole to close the Medicaid expansion gap, which South Carolina hasn't expanded. North Carolina just expanded it, I think, today, actually. But to make these kind of small changes while we work on something more comprehensive, because there's stuff we need to do now, but a lot of people that I talk to, because they do like, their company plan, but also like I tell them, what happens if you switch jobs? Right. What if your employer switches providers? So now your doctor, which you love, is now out of network, so you can't go to them. Like that's a real thing, especially for an older lady. She's like, but I've been going to them for 20 years and now I got to go somebody new. Like that makes them uncomfortable. I've seen them in tears because they don't want to do that.
The funny thing about that, and I don't know if this is something that you talk about a lot, but the risk of that happening under a single payer system is zero.
Yeah, exactly.
The risk, zero, yeah. But people associate the risk of that happening specifically with single payer. But it doesn't happen under single payer because it's single payer. When you have right now, we have a multiple payer system where you have each of those multiple payers has a selective group of people who they selectively pay. Single payer would eliminate that problem. So it is mystifying to me how it becomes part of the conversation that is a single payer problem when that is an existing problem under a multi-payer system. Yep. That is absolutely incomprehensible that they've been able to switch that narrative.
Hospital systems are constantly being bought out. So every time that happens, it increases the odds it becomes out of network. Yeah. I mean, and the hospitals around here, it's like every other year. Oh, nope, Prisma's now something else. Oh, nope, now this is that. Or this doctor, which was, independent, was bought out by the big hospital system. So now he's in their umbrella. So now something's different. I mean, we got to go to one. It's one to where you have to be able to set it up to where certain parts don't get neutered, like we saw with Obamacare. Certain parts were just pulled out. And then when we did this Medicaid expansion, we're sitting here, 7-8 years later, and we got, I think, 11 holdouts now because North Carolina's gone. So we got 11 holdouts, and these holdouts, you can't bribe them off of it with like, hey, we'll pay for it for 2 years complete. And then look at these other states, you actually make money. And we're like, nah, I don't want to do that. Close the rural hospitals down. Not going to do that. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So we, we're going to a single payer system here, hopefully sooner rather than later. It's tough right now with the way it is, with everybody digging in on their sides. Because to be able to actually set it up properly, you're going to have to maintain, the party wanting to do it's going to have the House, the Senate, have a filibuster proof in the Senate, or get rid of it. and then have the presidency and then be able to fight through some court cases on it and challenges and making sure the states don't undermine it, like we'd seen with Medicaid expansion and other things.
Yep. Sorry. I was looking for my mute button there. I apologize. I
was like froze. I was like,
Yeah, it's like
I got
lost the feed.
So Judd,
Yes, sir.
we're going to switch we're not going to switch the topic, but I think that we need to talk about sort of the elephant in the room. But before we get to that, what I'd like to do is like tell the folks, like, first of all, about your campaign, because I think what a lot of times people don't realize is that, and I took a look at the geography of your district, you're in a pretty good sized geographic district. I'm sure you're being outraised financially by Wilson. I'm sure, and obviously he's an incumbent. Your primary is coming up relatively shortly here, I believe, correct?
No primary for me.
Oh, you don't have what you guys don't have
No,
a
I
primary?
don't have one there. They canceled it, so I'm not even on the ballot. So I've been joking with the other candidates that I'm just going to spend a primary day like lounging by the pool. I don't know if they like my jokes or not. Yeah.
So you're the only Democrat running against him?
Yes.
Oh, well, there you go.
Okay. So yeah, the primary doesn't mean much to you then, but in the general election, assuming that you get to there, which it looks that would probably be the case since you're the only Democrat
going
running.
to the general, baby.
Yeah. Unless everybody writes in the mayor of
no write-in.
mayor of Buffalo.
No write-in. We canceled mine. I'm not even on the ballot.
But you've got a fundraising delta there, right? So like how important is the dollar in politics conversation out there? Because what I keep seeing when we talk to these candidates from these smaller towns and these larger geographical districts is that you've got, how do I say this? Gas costs money, right? Billboards cost money, yard signs cost money, and you have to be able to get the word out. And I'm assuming that you're not taking PAC money. So, because I haven't seen any of that on your campaign website at all. So with that being said, how can people support your campaign? How are you doing with the fundraising? Give us a little bit of a nutshell about how that's going.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Like I tell people with fundraising, raise enough to execute your strategy. Because anything past that, and you're probably going to start using it on a stuff you don't need to use it on, or stuff that doesn't help you win your election. We're actually doing pretty well outside of 2020, and y'all probably remember of the Jamie Harrison effect, where he raised like $150 million. Mm-hmm. The candidate in my district raised 10 times what the nominee did 2 years prior. She raised $2.5 million. The 18 nominee raised like $250,000. Same percentage of the vote for both of them. Same percentage. She had more absolute.
How is that possible?
Same.
Candidate's different.
Yeah, that candidate's a little different. COVID actually probably ruined her ground game, so she probably would have done a little better. But it's still like one of those things to where, quick sidebar, a candidate last Tuesday raised close to $2 million in a primary in Georgia. She came in third in the primary with like 1,600 votes. It's like, what are you doing?
What?
Like, what are you doing with your money? Like, I don't understand these problems here. But no,
how much did the first place candidate raise?
Oh goodness, millions there. It was Marjorie Taylor Greene's district on the Democrat side, so the money just kind of like flies in and lands in the candidates. Yeah, it's easy to fundraise against her.
Well, believe it or not, that race has like the most money going into it, because she raised a lot of money, and because of the fact that she raised a lot of money, the guy who's running against her, Marcus Flowers, is doing pretty
Flowers
well
going to bring a lot
as well. So
we're actually doing pretty good. At this point, the 18 nominee, which he actually raised more than most of our nominees. We've already, at this point, we're about 4 times as much as he had. So we're actually fundraising pretty well with me being brand new. And when people call themselves newcomers, sometimes what they mean is they've worked on campaigns for like 15 years and everybody knows them, but they haven't ran up for office. Literally in October, I'll walk through the door and nobody knows who I am. Like completely brand new.
But how has that gone for you? Like, has that been a positive thing or has that been a struggle?
It's becoming a positive. Early on, struggle because most of them are nervous because they look at my background and they're like, okay, white male, small business owner, went to a rural high school. They're like, why don't he just primary Wilson? Like if you primary Wilson and win, like it's yours pretty much. I just win and that. So a little bit of like, who is this guy? Like, we don't know who he is. Why did he just now decide to run? But now it's really starting to work great because they're like a new energy, new face, no quote unquote baggage per se. So it's like, oh, well, it's somebody, a legit new, young, which even a lot of the older folks are like, thank goodness, is it somebody young? Because they're kind of getting tired of people, 75 and 80 that just been holding on until they fall out of their seat dead. But no, the fundraising thing, we're going to wind up where we need to be. At this point, it's kind of a weird spot. South Carolina's all up and down the board. Candidates are struggling. As I know y'all have talked to a few of them. It's kind of down. But after the primary, that'll pick up. We'll have enough to execute our strategy, which we want to know, which is grassroots and, ground game. You're not going to out billboard Joe Wilson. Like, I can't stick up enough billboards to a message against him. And he's not messaging against me. He's just going to say, I'm a Republican vote. And he'll say that in September. And his people will be like, got clap, cool. I'll show up and vote. So we're actually starting our ground game on the 15th of June. So the day after the primary, because we don't want to confuse people since they can't vote for me now, we got a team or we got teams and they're going to start canvassing into the neighborhoods we need to start reaching because we're trying to bring in these young voters that don't vote. So you got to reach them, for 5 or 6 months straight. Rural voters, I can't throw out a TikTok and have the old lady find it who lives on dirt road by herself. She's not on TikTok. You're not going to do it 3 times.
How do you know? You never know.
Honey, I was just getting ready to say that.
She might be.
She might.
I have a TikTok, but I don't have access to it, so I don't know what I'm doing on there.
So, honey, why don't you just
and then it magically appears on TikTok.
Now, honey, just make your TikTok and then put it in an envelope and send it to the house. Then I can read it.
It's so many people. You'll call asking for money, right? And the goal is to get them to click on like your @blue, like as you're on the phone to do it. And they'll be like, can you just mail me like a little postcard and letter and I'll mail you back a check? And I'm like, sure. And then like 3 weeks later, you finally get it.
Mail me back the check.
I remember this, it's like,
it's still a beautiful thing though. But how can people find your campaign?
Yeah, definitely. Website is just juddlarkins.com. Our social media handles are all the same. Judd for Congress. We're on Twitter, Instagram, the wonderful Facebook, TikTok. I think that's all on it.
I made a TikTok.
I told y'all earlier, I go to bed at like 8 o'clock or 8:30. So as you can imagine, for somebody who is 31, I'm not very social media savvy.
I was going to say, like, I know that it's super late for you right now because you're 14 hours past your bedtime. I don't know if you had
get that cup of Metamucil before you go to bed.
I was going to say warm milk, right? I was like, look, I know you want to get your glass of warm milk because you're like a 31-year-old, 90-year-old over here, but